Funnily enough, it was actually church, which is weird. So I grew up in a pretty traditional Pentecostal family and had to go to church every Sunday, and I was helping out most days of the week there as well. And every week you'd have to listen to a preacher that would take 45 minutes to get a point across that you could probably tell in a minute and a half. So funnily enough, I got exposed to video editing through my work there, and straight away fell in love with the idea of being able to tell really concise, engaging stories. And also the biggest thing I fell in love with was the combination of music and well-timed visuals. And then I kind of left that aside for a little while and left the church scene, and then later on had my third attempt at uni and started doing graphic and web design to pay for the uni fees. And that business took off, even though I totally sucked at graphic and web design, but ended up making enough money to buy my first edit suite, and that kind of got me back into what I'd tried years earlier, and just all grew from word of mouth from there, and just sort of learnt everything I could off the internet and the online community. It's probably a combination between coming up with the original ideas and it'd probably be the shoots themselves are usually really trying, like really difficult. Not always, but more often than not, they're a pretty stressful, pretty physically demanding exercise. So I wouldn't say that's my favourite part, but it's obviously pretty important. So probably a combination between the initial concept and maybe even grading at the other end. So it's kind of like the bookend. It's the start and finish of the whole process, and probably my two favourite bits. I'm a big Wes Anderson fan. I love his composition and colour palettes and offbeat timings and editing and things like that. I love David Fincher. I love the way he moves the camera, and as soon as you watch one of his films, you're in his world. It doesn't feel like anybody else's type of film. Big fan of Michel Gondry. I really love his music videos and some of his features, and I'm not massively into visual effects, so I respect him for trying to do everything that he possibly can in the camera. Like Mark Romanek's music videos. Big fan of the Coen brothers. I love their collaboration, especially with like Roger Deakins and some of those cinematographers. And I love their editing, and their characters have this kind of strange self-awareness that I really enjoy. Probably my favourite cinematographer would be Emmanuel Lubezki. I think I'm saying that right. Chivo. He's definitely one of my favourite cinematographers. That's about it. I made a little short documentary a couple of years ago called The Truth About Money in Music, and one day I'd love to have the chance to turn that into a feature-length piece. So, drive my band around Australia and interview luminaries in the music scene. That'd be great. The other thing that I've started is a YouTube channel with a colleague of mine called The Undercurrent, and I'm actually hosting that one, which is weird to be on the other side of the camera, but that's kind of like a Last Week Tonight style of thing, current affairs satire. And my dream would be to just be able to do that full time, but it's going to be a challenge to find the funding for that. Practice makes perfect, like anything. I personally wouldn't waste too much time with official training. Like I've, to be honest, never really found much value in the people that I've gotten to work for me in their experiences at university. I've only ever found value in people that have practically been out and been working. And uni gives you that. You get the chance to work on productions, but I'd far rather find somebody with initiative and drive who just got out there and started work than I would someone who's sat in a lecture theatre for 3 years. So personally, I think just the tools are so accessible now, and far more than they were when I started out. There's no excuse to not just get out there and try, and not only work on other people's productions, but have a crack at your own. Film sets can be challenging places. They can be fun places, but they can be challenging, and there's often, we try not to have much of a hierarchy on ours, but you can get into those situations. So there's really no substitute for having been in that environment and knowing the departments, knowing how they relate to each other, and just being a responsive, intuitive person that can guess people's needs before they even ask. That's one of the most valuable things on a film set.